All right. Hi, my name is Rachel Skeffer, and this is my presentation on the ACE questionnaire, or the Adverse Childhood Experiences questionnaire for appraisal. So the origins of the ACE questionnaire came from a study that was done originally in California that kind of wanted to examine the long-term consequences of kind of adverse childhood experiences or troubled childhood experiences. So that was done originally in 1998. And then a more, accessible version of it was created in the form of a questionnaire out of popular demand. And so it was condensed and created in 2007. And the study found a correlation in the higher your ACE score, the more at risk you were for experiencing poor mental, physical health, and more. So you can see the reason that it was popular. People wanted to understand that. And so, again, it was created to examine an individual's childhood being under the age of 18, and their adversity, including trauma, abuse, and all of that. So, and another way to say that is it aims to uncover the extent in which an adult has been exposed to adversity in their household when they were growing up as a kid. So executing the questionnaire, it's really basic. In most settings, it's self-directed. I would say the only setting that it wouldn't be is if someone isn't able to write, like a child, or they're too young, or someone who's too elderly maybe to write if they have severe arthritis or something like that. So it's pretty accessible. It's used to assess a variety of age ranges, populations, environments, and cultures. Just to kind of give you a glimpse of that, I found so many different types of articles on this, so it was hard to kind of hone in on what to include. But I saw lots of articles with ACE studies from other countries, and Japan and China and lots of different places that examined the relationship with their ACE score with their quality of life. I also saw a relationship drawn between veterans and PTSD, articles about how the ACE scores indicated parenting styles, and then likelihood of depression in the elderly based off of their ACE score. So it's a really accessible and well researched in a lot of ways questionnaire and assessment. So as I said, it's self-directed. It's just 10 minutes. 10 questions, excuse me. And so it can be assessed for children in school settings, even kind of indirectly on an ongoing basis to kind of discern abuse or the likelihood of abuse, things that are going on that we're mandated to report, as well as teachers and staff. So I actually asked a lot of my teacher friends in the area if they had heard of the ACE questionnaire, and they had, and they said they use it quite often. So that was kind of cool to see how well known it is even in my sphere. So it can be taken at any age, but especially as adults because it's retrospective. So it meaning that it requires you to look back into your past. And so that is a little bit more difficult to do if you're ongoing experiencing that as a child. So that's why ongoing reassessments are best. Again, who should take the ACE questionnaire? Kind of everyone. What I really like about this is that it gives a great indicator of where people are at and the type of trauma and hardships that they've kind of been through and how that might be affecting them in their current situation. So that could literally extend to anyone. In fact, I think it would be just a great assessment to include in my own practice in the future, to just kind of gauge where people are at if I suspect issues of abuse or anything like that in the past. So I listed children. Again, that's a little more tricky because sometimes they aren't able to write, or there is the risk that they're not answering correctly or they're not fully understanding what's happening to them. still it's helpful in the long term to kind of assess children. Adolescents as well, especially, they get to be able to be more self-reflective, and adults of all ages. This has been a really huge thing, I guess, for a lot of parents, because parents, ACE score indicates a lot of how they will parent, and then indicates a lot what their children's potential ACE score could be. And so the lower, the better. So lower income populations and homeless individuals as well, because oftentimes those, your score can kind of correlate with that, as well as addicts. I have some statistics that I'll share later on, kind of about how the higher your score, the likelihood of these certain things going up happens, especially just as a whole, those with mental health issues. So really, that's why I put really anyone receiving mental health treatment could receive this. And I tried to include a picture of as many diverse ages and races as I could to kind of represent this is for everyone. Kind of looking at its validity and reliability. Some validity things, it can be hard to measure in a sense because it is retrospective. So that makes it kind of difficult to be as sound in a sense. But it's shown to produce information that the questionnaire is aiming to require. So it's like getting results that it's set out to get, which is a great sign. Again, there's also repeated correlations that have been shown between higher ACE scores or ACEs and mental health and physical health as well. Kind of some reliability stuff. Measures over time indicate high rates of reliability. It's really widely used. Lots of participants, and how they found consistent and similar results. So kind of following up on the reporting, consistent results, again, have been found. And here's kind of some of the statistics I was getting at. A score of 4 or more on the ACE or ACEs indicates that someone is 4 times more likely to encounter depression as an adult. So you can see right there in that one statistic why this would be such a helpful assessment for us to understand, or for kids to understand. It's just a really great indicator to us as mental health professionals, where someone is vulnerable and where they have been vulnerable, and that those things are connected. Again, alcoholism was 7 times higher for someone with a score of 4 on their ACE score. So most of my friends who have done this have said they're like at a 1 or 2. I have a few friends who have higher scores. Personally, I have a 0. But if I had a 4, I would be 7 times more at risk for alcoholism and 12 times more at risk for attempting suicide. So these are pretty crazy and staggering statistics. Again, doing this assessment earlier on leads to more preventative measures. I read lots of articles and included one in this presentation about how pediatricians use this early on to kind of assess for these things, and how that just works wonders, because it can really prevent long-term mental health struggles, because it can predict them in a lot of ways. Again, though, I think the more diverse the study and accessible it is, the better. It would lead to more, even further valid and reliable results that we're looking for in tests. So again, strengths, it's really popular. ACE questionnaire can be an indicator of homelessness even, and mental health issues later on in adulthood. So it's a huge asset to do. And again, I already kind of went and talked about the pediatrician stuff. It can help them, if they do it with a kid, or they kind of gauge with a kid, they can kind of assess where they're going to be vulnerable perhaps later, which is huge. Weakness is that it is kind of primarily retrospective, and so that makes it hard if someone lacks the ability to kind of be retrospective or reflective in nature. And again, it can be hard to get this information on the assessment accurately from children. And again, the assessment doesn't equal that people will get help, which is kind of a no-brainer. But so basically you could tell someone that, oh, this is your score, and they would know that that means, oh, they're at risk for this, this, and this, but that doesn't mean that they automatically go get that help or that they're able to get that help. And again, just more diversity, including in that. There's lots of different theories of personalities that I saw that would work with this. Attachment theory was the first one that stood out to me, and the one I saw most consistently talked about in articles. So that's kind of fun. The kind of interaction on children with their parents early on, and how that influences them and how they'll parent, as well as psychodynamic theory, kind of the idea that our experiences are related to our earlier childhood really shape who we are. And then Alderain theory kind of connects to the idea that our personality and problems are rooted in our core needs and feelings. So really interesting stuff. And that is my presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that it was fun and informative for you.